attachment therapy, aka holding time child therapy, because it is really child abuse, and I'm going to share with you what I've went through with this. And mind you, this therapy technique is specifically for foster kids and foster parents. Put that out there for you to give you a little bit of perspective before I go into the article, as well as the article I'm reading from is in the description down below. So if you like to follow along, it's right there for you. Guess here we go. The article starts out saying, attachment therapy, child abuse by another name. The abuse of individual identity, self-determination, rights, bodies, and minds of mental patients by those entrusted with their treatment and care therapy. The public has been subjected to wholesale, unvalidated, e.g. lobotomies. The blaming of mothers for autism, quote-unquote refrigerator moms, and the suicides and breakup of families as a result of false memory syndrome. Fortunately, with the application of scientific methods to mental health treatment, coupled with the integrity to go only where the facts lead, many past abuses have been acknowledged and addressed by the caring professions. Unfortunately, high standards are not universally upheld. As a consequence, there is a certain recidivism that requires constant vigilance against the reintroduction and use of abusive practices. With the advent of the 21st century, another psychotherapy scandal has been brewing for decades. Mind you guys, if I'm not mistaken, this article was written back in 2005-ish, so it's still going on to this day. Hold on 1 second, let me check the battery here. All right, I'm only at 4% and I have a charger in, so hopefully the charger keeps it alive long enough for me to get this out there. So with the advent of the 21st century, another psychotherapy scandal has been brewing for decades. Just as in many of those that have come before, it involves the humiliation, degradation, abuse, and exploitation of patients and their families. This time, it has a particularly shocking aspect, the intentional physical and mental torture of children, primarily adopted and foster children. As before, there are needlessly ruined lives, injuries, and deaths. The practice is known as attachment therapy, or as we will refer to it, attachment therapy / parenting, or ATP for short. Now, the problem. A large fringe element of pseudoscientific therapists, psychotherapists, attachment therapists, have invented the dubious, unrecognized, and catch-all diagnosis called attachment disorder, or AD for short, and its cure. AD is thought to be a child's inability to form a close, loving relationship with his caregiver, typically because of early childhood abuse or neglect. Many, if not most, undesirable behaviors seen in childhood supposedly stem from AD. Adopted children, many from overseas or minority groups in the USA, are often the targets of attachment therapists. Using scare tactics, these therapists offer parents their unvalidated, abusive, and potentially dangerous therapy for attachment disorder. Practices distinguished by the use of coercive restraint, boundary violations, and harsh parenting techniques. A number of deaths, cases of near starvation, and breakups of families have been linked to ATP. Guys, this is a lot to take in. Trust me, it is a lot to take in. Numerous adjunctive therapies, equally unvalidated, with safety and efficacy as unestablished, are frequently employed to supplement ATP, depending upon the practitioner. To name just a few that have gained great popularity among ATP practitioners and are openly embraced at ATP conventions: Tomatis and Samonas sound therapies, Crainial-Sacral Therapy, which literally sounds like brain sacrifice, like a ritual brain sacrifice, therapeutic touch, visceral manipulation, eye movement and desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR for short, Neurolinguistic Programming, or NLP for short, EEG Neurofeedback Therapy, Feldenkrais, Brain Gym, Video Reflections, that's freeze frame analysis for psychic leaks, integrated awareness, and sensory integration. And I did some little research on all of these things, and it's literally brainwash and mind control. It is literally brainwash and mind control stuff. Let me check the battery. 3%. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all this in. My battery's at 3%, and my charger for my phone, the right one, is not existent. So if this ends, I'll make a part 2 as soon as I can get my phone charged up all the way. And I'll resume where I left off when this ends and my phone dies. So I'll use this one then. Or my laptop. Either or. What is attachment therapy like? Attachment therapy is the imposition of boundary violations, most often coercive restraint and verbal abuse on a child, usually for hours at a time. Typically, the child is put in a lap hold with arms pinned down, or alternatively, an adult lies on top of a child lying prone on the floor. These are known as holding and compression therapies, respectively, though many other names have been employed for them over the years, see below. Sometimes a child is immobilized inside a blanket or sheet, which is often called either a mummy, burrito, or angel wrap. Now, my mom did this to me, and the wrap didn't work, so she went on to the next thing with me being pinned on the floor with her on top of me. While in control of the child, therapists and or parents attempt to produce enough discomfort and terror so that a child becomes so enraged, fearful, or in pain that he struggles against the adults. If the restraint alone does not cause a strong enough reaction from a child, other noxious stimuli may be added. And this is where the sexual assault comes into play, that I didn't remember. It was repressed until I read this little bit right here, and everything came flooding in my mind. All those emotions that were suppressed, all those memories that were suppressed, as if there was a giant locked box in my brain with a padlock on it. And after I read this article, especially this little part I'm about to share right now about sexual assault, it literally exploded open in the beginning of 2023. And I've been unhinged since. And everything in this article, guys, it explains how I am, and that the fact is I'm not to be held accountable or responsible for any negative thing I've ever done in my entire life or will ever do. Because if it wasn't my mom doing this to me, I wouldn't be the person I am. I wouldn't be so effed up in the head. I wouldn't be this way. So, just a little there. So, these noxious stimuli may be added, such as knuckling or elbowing the ribs. She did that. Relentless tickling covering the child's mouth. She did that. Jerking the head. She did that. And here it is. Or licking the child's face. She did that, and that's sexual assault because I didn't want it, and it was forced upon me. My mother sexually assaulted me. Verbal abuse during attachment therapy includes belittling, taunts, threats of abandonment by the parents, profane and hateful statements made to the child, requiring the child to repeat similar statements and sentiments over and over, and ignoring the child's voluntary statements and requests, or, in my case, pleas for help, and to stop. The therapist frequently holds his face in inches from the child's, yelling like a drill sergeant, or when I was at home, my mother would do this. While precise methods may vary from therapist to therapist, the underlying beliefs about child development as well as the character and goals of the practices are similar in important respects. Dubious claims of therapeutic effect. Many attachment therapists aim to disturb, quote unquote, disturb the disturbed child and claim that any close physical contact, not just that of coercive restraint, will cause a welling up of repressed memories of abuse sustained in infancy, in utero, or during the quote unquote trauma of birth. Mind you, this is all this therapy technique and all this crap is supposed to be for foster kids and foster parents. My biological mother did this to me. Most attachment therapists also claim erroneously that raging done by a child during a holding helps him rid of dangerous infantile anger. They further claim that as a child becomes exhausted from struggling against restraint, the child enters an quote-unquote infantile state, a developmental stage that they alone think can be redone, quote-unquote, to forge a close attachment to his current parents. This attachment is demonstrated mostly strongly, say many attachment therapists, by, quote, eye contact on the parent's terms, unquote. Additional measures are swaddling, bottle feeding, and speaking in baby talk to the child, even if an older teen. The bottle feeding never happened, but everything else did, and my mom still talked to me as if I were a baby. One, when I was getting a laptop for Illumination Productions so we can start doing that, she was talking to me as if I was a little baby. Oh, what do you want to do? Do you want to create? Do you want to do this? I was with the fucking killer right then and there. I was going to fucking punch her in the face because I'm like, Mom, stop talking to me like I'm a fucking baby. I know what I want to do. Stop speaking for me. Stop treating me like I'm a fucking baby. I was about to walk out because I was gonna fucking punch her right in the face right then and there. And my mom used me as a pawn against my dad and his side of the family, and she wanted to control. She needed to have control over everything. It was either her way or no way. And she was doing this crap to me so that I would lose feelings towards my dad and have all my feelings towards her. It's fucked up. My mother is fucked up. Varying nomenclature. While the practice of attachment therapy is just now coming to light, it actually has been around for almost 30 years. And not, like I said before, this article was written around like 2005. So almost now 40, 50 years going on. Here are some other names of attachment therapy that are used for attachment therapy. Hopefully I can get through this little bit right here because my phone is now on 2%. All right, so other names for holding time and or attachment therapy. Holding time is in this list, by the way. Z therapy, rage reduction therapy, Theraplay, holding therapy, attachment holding therapy, attachment disorder therapy, reattachment therapy, holding time, cuddle time, gentle containment, holding nurturing process, emotional shuttling, direct synchronous bonding, breakthrough synchronous bonding, therapeutic parenting, dynamic attachment therapy, humanistic attachment therapy, corrective attachment therapy, developmental attachment therapy, dyadic attachment therapy, dyadic developmental psychotherapy, dyadic support environment, effective attunement, prolonged parent-child embrace, and conversion therapy. That all sounds very that sounds very rapey and very that sounds fucked up. So I'm gonna end this. This is gonna be part 1. I'm gonna start part 2 in the next 10 minutes because this phone's on 2% that I'm recording on now, and I'm gonna resume where I left off on my laptop, which is right in front of me. So please come back. There's a lot more to be talked about.